All righty then. I think I'm back. I'm back now. So we're gonna be staying here for quite some time together, dear listener, because Kamala, we got Trump, we got all that wonderful jazz. Let me see here. What have you done? We live right now? Are we live right now? Let's see. Are we locked in? Then step this way. Step this way. Then step that way. Step that way. Are you my friend? Are you locked in? Yeah, you first to get Applejack. You first. Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about it. We're setting up for the. Let's see. Are you still here? 8 viewers waiting. Skip ad. All right, there we go. I'm gonna have to change the title to this thing. Jet, what's up, Jet? Jet's coming in from X. Good to see you, Jet. Good to see you. Yeah, so this is going to be an Ask Me Anything. You guys can ask me anything until 9 p.m. EST, in which case we're going to switch over and deal with the debate, dear listener. So that's going to be fun. I haven't seen you guys in a while, so ask away. Anything you want to know, I'm going to do my best to answer for you beautiful people. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. So we got people in the Rumble world. We got people in the YouTube world, the Facebook world. I think I'm like posting to like 5 different channels at the same time right now. Let's see how much it's going to let me get away with. Let's see how much it's going to let me get away with. I also got to change this this metadata. Come on, Mr. Rumble. Alrighty then. Yeah, guys. So just hit me up. Anybody that has a question about, what I'm doing, what the plan is, all that jazz, just let me know, because we got it for you beautiful people. I'm trying to figure out, though, why this is acting like this. Let's see. Let me see. I changed my picture. Does it show different? Yes, Jet, it does show different now. Lost hate. Question. Why do we drive on a parkway but park on a driveway? Dude, I have no idea, man. Like it's funny. Like, on one hand, it's funny, right? But then on the other hand, it's like, yeah, like, what is the logic there? Greetings from work. I'll be missing the debate. I'll be at work until 10. I don't think you'll miss the whole debate, because the debate starts at 9 p.m. EST. So you'd only be missing like the first hour, I think. Rig in the house. Yeah, Rig, I'm doing a quick Ask Me Anything before we transition to the actual debate, So I'd figure I'd hang out with you guys for an hour or so, do the Ask Me Anything, and then make that happen. J Vel, can you get Jimmy Dore back on? You know what, J Vel? I wasn't going to tell anybody this, but Jimmy reached out to me about 4 or 5 days ago. So keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. If you are on the Rumble side, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Get active. The other thing, guys, is that when it's time to go to the debate, you guys are all going to have to go on the Rumble side, because you know what YouTube is going to do to me. So we got to make sure that gets straight. I need. We kind of dropped go DZ. Ask your question if you have a question. Ask your question if you have a question. Okay. Rig, why do you call it a TV set when you only get one? That's another good one. No idea. Jet, what are we debating? Well, we're not debating anything. This is an Ask Me Anything, but Trump and Kamala are supposed to be debating in like an hour and 13 minutes. Great, more Rumble UI. Yep, watch out for cat-eating migrants. Yeah, guys, I gotta tell you, man, that's mega disturbing to me, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. But like my vegans say, it's kind of hypocritical for us to be grossed out by it. When we eat chickens. So like, if we kept chickens as pet, would we be like grossed out by that? Or like, if we thought we lived in a society where chickens were pets and all the rest of it, and we attributed anthropomorphic tendencies to it, the people from wherever they're from would be appalled at us. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. My question was, why do we have third world countries in 2024? Why do we have third world countries in 2024? Well, I think there's a lot of factors to that. One is that I can tell you that there are some people in the world who don't have Western innovations and things of that nature, and they're extremely happy and content. And so the concept of being in a third world country to a Westerner appears as if it's a situation to be avoided. And I think, like relative to things like biology, for example, I do think modern technology, we were just talking about this yesterday at the Bible Boogie, where we were talking about pain and childbearing and how you have things like an epidural and other things, Nubain and O2 and all these things to help you deal with the pain of childbearing. And so in that respect, modern medicine, vaccinations, things of that nature, living in a third world becomes detrimental in that sense. But when you talk about first world problems, we kind of use that and joke about it ironically. But I've seen people in like literally the poorest circumstances, like literally in the world. And I've also seen Americans. And again, this is anecdotal evidence, but we're so miserable compared to those people. So going to the moon, if we went to the moon, is awesome. Figuring out quantum entanglement, I think, is awesome. You wouldn't be able to do that in a third world context. The excess capital that we have to dive into the sciences, I think, is invaluable. Because when it comes down to it, science on this platform is almost everything. It informs our warfare, how we conduct war. It informs things like vaccinations and things of that nature. And so that's a double-edged sword, right? Because there are no school shootings in some of the places that I've been in the world. But the place has been flooded with AK-47s. And you haven't really lived until you see a 6-year-old with his other brother, and they've got an AK-47 like strapped between their shoulders to one. They're like 4 or 5 years old, and they're so small they can't. The gun's bigger than them, and so they have to split the burden carrying the gun. Like, you put that thing in America, is a whole bunch of dead people. My point is like, yeah, man, like, on the one hand, I don't like the concept of third world countries because I want those people to have, medicine and things of that nature. But then there are other aspects to living in a first world that's extremely problematic, especially a first world like America, where you've got better healthcare than in Afghanistan. But you can get blitzed going to Walmart. You can get blitzed going to school. You can get blitzed coming home from church. So, the people I knew in other countries never had that problem. They never had that fear. They never even had doors in their houses, some of them. So, are they that disadvantaged? I'm not sure. I'm a person who was born and raised in a capitalist environment, and so anytime I see a situation where the marks of capitalism are not readily present in a situation, I'm going to feel like that those people are less fortunate, but I'm not sure that they're less fortunate than us. So that's how to answer that question. There's a lot more that could be said about that for sure. Why do we have third world countries in 2024? They are made and kept that way by wealthy rulers and corrupt governments as contingency plan and a cheap, desperate army in case Western societies lose faith in their own system, etc. Well, yeah, Guy, go DZ. I mean, it seems like you've got a pretty good handle as to what you think the problems were. Second question: what has allowed for the establishment of every ancient religion? What has allowed for the establishment of every ancient religion? I got to tell you, I'm not conversant with every ancient religion, so I couldn't begin to answer that question for you. And no, I do not think that the issues relative to why there are still third world countries in America is simple in the world is simple at all. I disagree with that premise. I don't think it's that simple. Did you see Dick Cheney endorse Kamala? Dick Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris. Okay. I mean, yeah, I agree, Tasco. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Are we going to hear about the burden that must be unburdened? Yeah, unburdened by looking at the past, looking to the future, unburdened by the past, or something like that. Like, I gotta tell you guys, I don't like Kamala Harris. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I'm not talking about her politics and things like that. Like, I'm one of those stereotypical black dudes that can't stand Kamala Harris. So but when somebody makes a point, I promise you, I will say she made a point. Vin, do you find it interesting that God chose Abraham, who came from a pagan background? Well, by that time, apostasy had fell over the entire planet such that it appears to me that God had no other choice. See what I'm saying? Because it looks to me like Abraham was back in a situation where Noah was prior to the flood. Right, where you've got this like national apostasy happening, like in the direct text in Genesis 6 that precipitated the flood. It said violence spread across the earth, and so you had universal warfare, and so that precipitated the flood. God then says, okay, I'm not going to flood the earth. I'm never going to do that again. And then pretty soon after that, we're introduced to Nimrod, who's a mighty hunter before the Lord. Nimrod is an actual historical figure, almost universally looked upon as the purveyor of ancient Mesopotamian pagan religion. And so when you get to the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Babel, and there's that comment from the gods or God when it says, these people are planning to build a tower into heaven, and look, they're all together now. Nothing will be impossible for them. And so God confuses the languages, and everybody like goes their separate ways. And so everybody was pagan at the time. That's why they were working on that tower, because the Tower of Babel was actually a temple. You go to any Bible dictionary, it'll tell you it was a temple. And we kind of had these like staircase temples. And the idea was that, the gods are in the high places, which is really, really interesting because Eden in Ezekiel and Isaiah is described as a mountain garden. So like the picture was that there was this big hill, right? And then on top of the hill was a garden, and that's where Adam and Eve lived. And then when they sinned, they descended down, right, into the world. So having put all that together, my assumption would be that God selected Abraham because, out of his pagan environment, because that's all he had to choose from. It's just like when people say, how could you vote for so-and-so and such and such? They're a racist. And I respond by saying, that's all we have to choose from. All we have to choose from are racists. All we have to choose from are money-worshipping, crazy people. So, yeah, that's how I'd answer that question. Hello, children. BC. Okay. Are you doing a debate watch along? Yes. Every ancient religion has been established by menticide, mass murder, and genocide, which are the necessity historically for non or of for, from, or in regards to God, but rather of the godless gods who govern over the ungodly only when understood more correctly. Just a consideration, maybe a different perspective. No, I completely disagree with you. That's completely untrue. It is untrue that every ancient religion has been established by menticide. Okay. Go DZ. I don't know if you're still here. You probably left. Go DZ. Type 22 if you're still here, because I got a question for you. No, it is not 100% true. It's not 100% true. For example, what was the bloody jihad that established the Abrahamic religion of Judaism? Because you said established. Excellent. Where was the and please give me actual sources, right? Get me the data that says that that Judaism started because of bloody menticide. That's just I love everybody. I love secularists and things of that nature, man. But y'all be killing me sometimes. I swear to God. It's 100% true. Read history rather than the Bible. Well, some of the things that we see in the Bible are historical. For example, there's a man named Pontius Pilate mentioned in the scripture. He's an actual historical figure, right? So it looks to me that you've got a real simplistic way of looking at the world. We don't need to look at geopolitical situations. We don't need to look at the cease and labor of the people in the area. We don't need to think about the prevailing zeitgeist and social customs for why a country remains a third country. Nope. It's a simple answer. Now here you come saying all this stuff about menticide and the establishment of religion. I'm asking you to get me documentation of this accusation. Furthermore, I need you somehow to prove to me that you're familiar with all of these ancient Near Eastern religions. What is a source of power or authority over others? Well, that's not difficult. The United States currently runs the world. We do whatever we want with impunity because we'll kill everybody who tries to stop us. So that would be why. Vin, what is your opinion of indigenous ceremonies? The Creator is praised in a spiritual way, but far from Christian practices. Well, Dwayne, one of the reasons I think that Christianity is going to win, quote unquote, is questions like that. In other words, if you become a really, really serious Muslim, like if you're born and raised in America, and you become a really serious Muslim, you know what's going to happen? You're going to start speaking Arabic. And if you're really serious, you're going to start dressing like you came out of the 7th century Arabian desert. In other words, if you ask a Muslim who's really, really conversant with his faith, he'll tell you that your English Quran is not actually the Quran. Because the only true Quran is the Arabic Quran. And so it is a very parochial regional religion that has expanded globally for various reasons, but you kind of have to conform. And that's one of the reasons why the religion has to be spread with a sword. What's interesting and by the way, there are very detailed instructions for Islamic worship, what you can and can't do, things of that nature. What's fascinating to me about Christianity is that the New Testament does not give us a detailed order of how your church is supposed to operate. And the other thing that's interesting to me about this is that because you had people coming from mixed backgrounds, so you had some churches that were populated with Jews, that is, Jews who stayed with traditional biblical Judaism, and then you had Hellenized Jews, which were Jews under the influence of Antiochus Epiphanes and all those guys, Epimanes, whatever, and those guys who gave into Hellenization, adopted the Greek language and things of that nature. That's why by the time of Jesus, many of the Jews at the time were could speak 2 languages, sometimes 3. And that's why you had Aramaic, Greek, and Latin above Jesus's cross for that reason. So here's the reason I'm saying that, you know, how this all relates together. If you say the Great Spirit, you know, brought us the sun on this and this day, and, you know, the crops, we were saved by the crops and all the rest of it. You got some Christian missionaries that would show up and tell you, never celebrate that ever again. But the Bible doesn't actually tell people in their cultures to get rid of their culture. It actually goes in the opposite direction. When you see everybody in Revelation, it says that there are people from every tribe, tongue, kinsman, and nation. Okay, so a tongue is a marker of culture. Right? I used to listen to this guy who's borders, language, culture. what you speak, the type of words that you use are part of culture. And then out of your culture comes all this other stuff in your religious practices and things like that. I believe anything that is okay. So let's say this: somebody does a prayer or a rain dance, and I'm just being stupid because I don't know if the rain dance thing is really real, right? But you can understand in an agrarian context where you're literally like your life and the life of the entire village depends on whether or not this rain is going to come, and you believe that there are gods up there somewhere. And so one of my ancestors goes outside, does certain movements, follows a certain protocol, and all the rain comes down. I'm going to interpret that as a pagan and say, okay, one of the gods helped me or whatever, right? And so then every year, let's say on January 3rd, I go outside to do a dance or whatever to commemorate the fact that the gods helped me and saved the village last year, right? Missionary shows up, all the rest of it. Now, if he's a biblical missionary and I tell him that story, he doesn't have to say that was a nasty, horrible, evil, pagan, satanic, evil god that blah, 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 because God doesn't work with rain dances and all the rest of it. You could do that. Or you could say, well, my brother, the Lord is gracious, compassionate, slow to anger, rich in love. The Lord is good to all. He has compassion on all he has made. So even though at the time you did not know him specifically, and even though at the time he did not require all those dancings and things of that, all he wanted to do was hear your voice. But he was so overcome with compassion for you that he cried his eyes out, and you experienced that in a nice little shower that saved the village. So if you want to celebrate that, you should celebrate it with the understanding that the Great Spirit did that for you, and you didn't have to do all that. And the Great Spirit is a son, and he sacrificed his son for you. So you see what I'm saying? So like, I don't need to go in there and get everybody to start speaking American. I don't need to cut people's hair and change their clothes and change all their customs and say that everything in their culture was crazy and blah, 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 blah. I don't even need to slander the gods that they were worshiping. I can make a very easy biblical case to say that those gods were deployed by the true God to make sure that those people could be okay and survive and things of that nature. And so as long as those gods were taking care of you, that's okay. You can be grateful to them, but they're not the source, right? So that's how I would engage it. I want natives to be natives, indigenous to be indigenous, and God wants that because he wants the variety, because he's a badass no matter what region you come from. See, that's the problem. It's like God doesn't want everybody to show up and start speaking Arabic, and he doesn't want everybody to show up and start speaking English. God wants to look at the stage of the universe and point to the angels and say, see, every single one of these people wanted it. Not just one group of people, not just whatever. Look at all these different people from time and space. Look how different and variegated they are. One of these guys never made it 5 miles past his house. This guy went to the moon, but both of them are crazy about me. So the picture that you get in the Bible is that all of the nations are going to come to God, but they're still going to be able to maintain a national identity, which means that church should not look the same on a reservation versus a church in Frankfurt, Switzerland or something. So that's kind of a long, kind of winded answer, but that's a pretty important topic for me because it goes into the whole concept of missiology and things like that. And it also indicates the sort of paternalistic way in which Christians, particularly American Christians, engage with the heathen, if that makes any sense. Jesus did not draw the line or choose a side or show favor, but stood. Okay, go DC. Here's what I'll do. Because you're posting a lot of stuff. I don't have a problem with having a conversation with you. If you want to jump on, I can't respond, obviously, to every jot and tittle of what you're saying. And I've got other people that are asking me questions. So I'm not trying to ignore you, brother. I promise. Okay, so let me go back. I tried to answer that question. Hey, Tasco, missed you too, buddy. Let me keep going here. Liver Flipper, good to see you, buddy. Haha, Liver Flipper. Are we going to hear about the burden that must be unburdened? Okay. Vin, okay, Pagan Gregon. Did Vin just mispronounce Kamala's name on purpose? No, I didn't do it on purpose. Nimrod, the 90s. Why do older people think younger people have never drank water out of a garden hose? Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming you're reacting to one of those memes because it was like, look what the kids are doing now, and everybody's on their phone and shit, and then it's like, look what we're doing. We're playing with the garden hoses. Yeah, yeah. You know, it's kind of it's not literally what they're saying. They're just trying to put a contrast between. They're trying to say that we had a more organic, better life because we didn't have phones and all the other stuff, which I don't know if that's true. All we have to choose sounds like a defeatist. Well, I was giving a pretty lazy analogy just so that people could understand the point, right? Like when I because in God's case it was literally true. Like everybody, that's all he had to choose from. In our case, it is not literally true. It is practically true, but it is not literally true. Good job, Applejack, for calling out my mistake. Because yes, it's the majority report that there are only two parties, but we know that there are not only two parties. We have the potential for more. But as long as we keep pushing the two-party system and speaking about the two-party system in the way that I just did, as if it's like a foregone conclusion, you need people that say, you're sounding like a defeatist. Stop that. You need that. That's one of the reasons that these people are able to continue to fuck with us all the time, is because we can't take correction from nobody, because now we're going to get all in our egos and our feelings. I was wrong. Those are not the only two people who have to choose from. Good job, Applejack. They found a volcano channel on the moon, I bet. Did you see the Jimmy Dore video covering those evil Zionists talking about so disgustingly on about Palestinians? I disavow those people. Tasco is a Jewish person here who's a lover of his people. But very much like me and Tasco are pretty much the same person in that regard. I'm a big lover of black people. And I'll advocate for them when I think they're being, but I'm also extremely frustrated with my people. And Tasco is in this crazy situation where your heart's got to bleed. And if you're a Jewish person and you've been on the team, you've been on the Jewish team, and you look at history and the psychology, because I know what it's like to be part of a group of people who had a, historical trauma, and what that means when you start to hear for the first time, especially if you hear that in a context where you're a minority. And so there's a lot of co-belligerency there between me and my brother, but at the same time, it's your people doing all types of crazy shit, ethnically cleansing people from the land, all type of crazy shit. And so you got to call it out. But then when you call it out, the people that hate your people are going to jump on and spike the football. It's a crazy environment to be in. So shout out to Tasco. For sure, for sure. Judaism started from Yahwism, didn't it? Yes, it did. So I don't understand what he means by it started infanticide and all this bloodshed. I mean, we're talking about unwashed shepherds. I mean, if we're supposed to take the messianic prophecy that the Messiah will reunite all 12 tribes of Israel back into the land of Israel metaphorically, then why does God phrase it literally? Well, I don't know how you could say God phrased it literally. What does it mean to phrase something literally? So I'm going to answer that question when you answer that, so I can give you a more intelligent answer. Not saying I believe in dispensationalism, but that has stumped me lately. Oh, well, again, I don't know what the term phrased it metaphorically means. So, develop that for me, and we'll keep talking about it. I was told all written Quran is incorrect Quran. The Quran is supposed to be word of mouth. That would take me about 15 minutes to explain. I would say yes and no. Mostly yes, in what you're saying, Applejack. 7th Congress of Religious and Traditional World Leaders, September 2022. Research. Joshua, thank you for that contribution. If you could tell me what the issue there would be, that would be great, because I'm navigating two channels and trying to get everybody's questions answered. You see what I'm saying? Yep, there's my boy Angel Sin. Love him. Listen to him. 10 days God allows for religious rest. Okay. The Seventh Congress of Religious and Traditional World Leaders in September 2022 official statement point 10 days God allows for religious diversity. Jesus' name was never mentioned one time by anyone. Yeah, man, I was telling one of my friends, like, Jesus refuses to be one in the crowd, man. Like, he's going to confront you and make you choose him and only him or reject him. But he's like, I'm not going to be one of anybody in your crowd of gods or philosophers or whatever. No. Whoa, and ask me anything. Yes. What do you prefer, punctuated equilibrium or gradualism? Probably. See, I'm both, man. And honestly, that runs even into my theology, honestly. So I don't know if you want to ask another question to develop that one. The issue with Christian religion, which is practiced by many indigenous communities, has a bad reputation caused by the European religious folks who use the Bible to forcefully change their ways. By using schools and churches to practice their ways or die, I don't believe that's what our Lord had in mind. No, you know that that's not what the Lord had in mind. And as we've seen clearly from the Bible, that the Lord had the exact opposite in mind. But ethnocentrism is a thing. And I've got this friend. Well, he was in Maine, and he used to have his icon. His Facebook icon was a Bible, and then there was a gun on top of the Bible, and that was his icon. And because Americans and Westerns and Europeans just assume that their culture is the default culture, they don't see that they are practicing what's called syncretism, where you take the religion of God and mix it with the religion of the state. The devotion that Americans have to guns. And I'm not talking about ban all the guns and we won't have any shooting. I'm just saying the devotion that Americans have towards firearms is a idolatrous devotion that is rooted in the fear of the inability to defend oneself and rooted in the ego of being able to say, I have a fire stick that can end your life. And so, like, there's a lot of really complex issues going on at the same time. And we have to understand that our culture is what's best for us. But that does not mean that it would be best for the people who you're trying to reach. They don't need to look like you, walk like you, talk like you. All they need is Jesus, and Jesus has nothing to do with you. Once you give them Jesus and they get it, you can just move right along. But they won't do that. They got to make them conform and reflect a European image instead of being who they are as image bearers of God. So I'd probably feel a lot more comfortable in a ceremony of indigenous believers in Christ than go to a, whatever. So that's part two of that question. What is your opinion? Thanks for the super chat, by the way, CB. What is your opinion on how Dems expect regular people to overlook Kamala's chameleon-like shape-shifting? I have no idea. I know as a black man, and so do you, you know how we feel about Shorty. Look, this is a woman who dropped out of the 2020 Democratic primaries before it got to California, which is supposed to be her state, especially as a Democrat. Right? We all know if Donald Trump doesn't win New York, all right, it's, New York is a blue state. Okay. You're a Democrat, it's the Democratic primaries. You had to pull out because Andrew Yang was going to beat you, Bernie was going to beat you, Mayor Pete was going to beat you, and Joe Biden was going to beat you. And you can deal with the humiliation of coming in fifth place in your own state. And so she dropped out beforehand. This is the same lady. And ever since then, it's only gotten worse for her in the media. So I don't understand. I don't understand the logic. MSNBC and all these other people, like, I don't know, bro. From what I understand, the gun obsession is also because of a fundamental distrust in the government. Is that correct? Yeah, I mean, Americans fundamentally, it's an American tradition to distrust your government. And so normally what you would hear for people who are major, and again, I don't want to call them gun cults, gun nuts, whatever. It's not a helpful. What they're saying is, you know, every so often the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots. I think that's a Thomas Jefferson quote. And so the Second Amendment is kind of this idea that, like, okay, the populace is always going to outnumber the governors. And so if the populace has a bunch of guns, then those in power will not be able to oppress them, because now you've got an equalizer and there's way more of them than you. And I think back in the days when you had muskets and things, people bring up cannonballs and all that. I don't think so. Like, look, man, you people don't understand how you trade. Look, how do I say this? I've known some of the most gifted, craziest people in the world, and they'll tell you, man, those Afghanis, man, them boys can fight, boy. Them boys know how to fight. I'm talking about all in units and shit you see on TV. And when they sit there and talk to you about, especially, Part 3 tally, which is, the last 5 years, there was a hell of a lot of respect all down the ranks for the Taliban and all the rest of it. My point in saying that is to say, back in the day, if the government showed up with a bunch of muskets and shit, the entire city would fall on them. It'd be over with. My problem with the Second Amendment from that perspective is to say, the minute we dropped that bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was over with. Because the Second Amendment does not say guns, it says arms. So if we want to take it to the most logical conclusion, we would have to say that Bill Gates and Elon Musk should be able. I heard Elon's going to be a trillionaire in 4 years. He should be able to do whatever he wants and get himself an atomic bomb because he can afford it and he has the right to bear arms. There are some people that are like, yeah, he should be able to. I don't know, guys. To me, there's definitely a problem in America with guns. I just haven't heard a single person bringing up an actual solution. So, I don't know what to tell you. I don't love guns, but even now, live in the suburbs, I bet you never catch me lacking. Yeah. By phrasing it literally, I mean, why does God phrase those prophecies in such a way that if you read it at face value, then you can come to the conclusion that the 12 tribes must return? Well, because you were dealing with a group of people that were not indwelt with the Holy Spirit, and so the deeper meanings and understandings of what God was ultimately communicating was lost on them. And that's why Peter says that they knew they were not writing for them. They knew that they were never going to get it. They were writing for us, on whom the ends of the ages has fallen, because now we have the Holy Spirit and we have the entire story. They did not. So I would answer the question that way. Here, it's 1 Peter chapter 1. What I'm about to read to you is 1 Peter chapter 1, Hunter, where Peter says, concerning the salvations, the prophets, that's the Old Testament, who spoke of the grace that was to come to you, searched intently and with the greatest care, trying to find out the time and circumstances to which the Spirit of Christ in them was pointing when he predicted the sufferings of the Messiah and the glories that would follow. Here's verse 12. It was revealed to them that they were not serving themselves, but you, when they spoke of the things that had been told to you by those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven. Even angels long to look into these things. So there are a bunch of times in the New Testament where an Old Testament passage is quoted, and if you look at it at face value, it makes no sense. For example, in Matthew chapter 2, when it's talking about the flight to Egypt, it then quotes Hosea, out of Egypt I called my son. But when you go to Hosea, the text says, when Israel was a child, I raised him, and out of Egypt I called my son. It was about the Exodus. It was not about one specific person or one specific Messiah in that text in Hosea. But what Matthew does is say, no, yes, God called Israel, the nation, out of Egypt. That is true. But the nation of Israel prefigured Jesus' mission. The nation of Israel spent 40 years in the desert. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. There's a bunch of parallels between Jesus and the concept of Israel. And so God communicated to the Israelites in the Old Testament, because he's trying to give them hope, in very simplistic ways that they could understand. Because, as I said, they didn't see the full picture, and it was revealed to them that they were not writing to understand in their time. They were writing for us to understand it. So that's how to answer that question. JLB. Did JLB make a? Did JLB? Hold on, let me keep trying here. Vin, do you believe until Christianity was introduced to the Indigenous, the souls of Indigenous were lost without any acknowledgement of Jesus as the only way to heaven? I've said a million times, Jesus is the only way to heaven, but I do not believe. Okay, so there's this story. Let me tell you guys this story. It's actually one of my favorite stories. It's this king, Ahimelech, and it's actually with Abraham. It's really, really, really interesting. So here's what happens. So Jesus is such a gangster. I believe that this is Jesus talking, but don't worry about it. But here we go. I'm going to read you the passage because it's one of my favorite passages, and I do think it's pertinent to your question. Here we go. So what happens is Abraham, the guy that we were just talking about a couple minutes ago, God promises, I'm going to make a great nation out of you. So then Abraham is out there traveling, doing all this horrible stuff. Not horrible stuff, just regular stuff. Okay? And he lands in Egypt. And his wife is extremely attractive. So he says, do me this kindness. If people find out me and you are married, they're going to kill me to get to you. So tell everybody that I'm your brother. She goes, okay. So she goes around and tells everybody that, no, that's my brother. So then the king of Egypt is like, well, hell, this girl is a 10. She's a dime piece. She's beautiful. And it's just her brother. So he snatches her up. And he's about to go into his bedchamber when Jesus shows up and the following conversation ensues. This to me, I mean, gosh. I wish. All right, here we go. So here's the discussion that happens afterwards. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, indeed, you are a dead man because of the woman who you've taken, for she is a man's wife. So God himself shows up and says, the girl that you're about to assault, I'm going to kill you for doing it. She ain't yours, bro. But Abimelech had not come near her yet. He said, Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, she's my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this. What do you mean you gonna kill me and everything? What are you talking about? I didn't do nothing here. They told, what are you doing? Why are you coming out to me like this? You see how this pagan who doesn't know God is engaging God? Because remember in the story, okay, all the nations of the earth went their own way. God says, all right, you pagan Abraham, I'm taking you. Let's go. I'm gonna make a great nation out of you. He says nothing about hanging out with this guy, Abimelech. So how does Abimelech know to talk to the Lord? How does Abimelech understand the Lord's moral compass? Look, because he says, Lord, will you slay the righteous nation also? And then he makes a case for himself. That tells me that Abimelech not only knew God, had some sort of relationship with God, and it appears to me that he doesn't go, well, who the hell are you? He doesn't do that. He knows immediately who he's talking to. And he also knows to appeal to his compassion and his morality. So Jesus responds to him and says, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Allahu Akbar. This is incredible. I withheld you from sinning against me because I knew that wasn't in your heart, bro. This guy had a relationship with God, so much so that God said, this guy don't know what he's doing. I'm going to hold it back. You don't know what's going on. He said, I know you did that. That's why I didn't let it happen to you. Well, then why'd you threaten him then? Because he wants to engage Abimelech. He likes talking to him. Now he's got his attention. He's going to exploit the hell out of it because he loves talking to us. We continue. I didn't let you touch her. Now therefore, restore the man's wife, for he's a prophet. He'll pray for you, and you'll live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. There's the sexist, misogynistic God of the Old Testament. Sexual integrity of one woman. Mm-hmm. Text where their God does this. So my point in saying that is to say that Jesus is absolutely the only way. But anybody who says before the missionaries showed up, everybody went to hell, I'm sorry, you cannot say that definitively. You cannot say that definitively. What I will say is, now that we have the fullness of the gospel, we still need to send missionaries there, because just dying and going to hell is not the only thing that Jesus came for. He also came for telling us how to live in this world right now. So it's still important. I don't like Kyle Kalinske at all. Hey, Vin, good to see you back in the middle, man. Hey, what's up, Jax? Vin, what is your opinion of those Trump cultists sharing images of him as an angel and a savior and all that? Yeah, man, I gotta tell you, man, like, there are very few things that offend me more than that. There are very, very few things that offend me more than that. I'm not in the business of disrespecting Mr. Trump. I didn't go with the orange man stuff. Anybody that knows me knows I don't believe it's biblically right to mock and insult your leaders. And so I've always tried to do that, even with Mr. Biden. But to act as if there's any correlation between the Lord Jesus and Trump is just insane to me. And look, there was messianic imagery in 2008. I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a bunch of messianic imagery relative to Mr. Obama. So, it had hope and then the little halo and all that, and then you had teachers teaching kids how to sing to Obama. It was pretty freaky. So yeah, the tendency for Western politicians to try to invoke some sort of connection to Jesus gives you some sort of mystical aura, and I think it's crazy. Yeah, JLB, that's where I'm at with it. Kyle Kalinske went from having good independent views to being a total shit-lived after he married Crystal. Such a disappointment. Oh, man. Let me not comment on that. Will you be voting this time around? I don't know. I was actually, me and you need to have a one-on-one pretty soon here, Tasco, because I need your mind for to help me think some things through. Vin, what did you think of the Muslim debate you posted on Facebook, specifically the sections where they argued about scriptural manuscripts and biblical morality versus Islamic morality? Yeah, the Muslims for the last year and a half have been they've been catching a lot of L's. They've been catching a lot of L's, and I know all the people in that crew. I've debated 3 or 4 of them, and they always try to destroy the original copy. It's so ridiculous. Like I did a 3-hour one with one of their guys, and like they deleted it, wouldn't do it on a live stream, did it in a side recording, and then deleted it at the end of the debate. Like, it's just a lot of underhanded stuff with that group of people. I just, I got so much respect for Islam and Muslims and Muhammad, but the internet is not being friendly to Islamic apologists. Say it that way. This is the slowest election year I've ever witnessed. I don't know. I don't know. What demonic entity or entities would you say are worse than Satan biblically? Well, I mean, you've got the spirits in prison in 1 Peter, but the Greek word that's used there is a hapaxlagomena. It's the Greek word Tartarus, which obviously is in Greek mythology the worst of the worst places, right? It's definitely not the Elysian Fields, but it's also not Hades or Hades. It is underneath Hades, Tartarus, and you're there in prison. It's really interesting too because in the Greco-Roman telling of the Titans, it's they're basically giants. They're not gods per se. They're kind of Nephilimic, divine, human kind of combos, but they're huge and they're powerful, and so they have to be bound specifically in Tartarus. I don't think the devil's main calling card is the degree to which he's evil. As in to say, I'm the most evil, baddest motherfucker in the world. I think a lot of people read that into the devil because they have this mistaken identity that the devil's kind of like on the opposite pole of God, and that's just not true. The devil and God are not like polar opposites. That's not true. God is eternal. The devil is not. So there's no way, right from the starting point, it's a non-starter. I don't believe that the devil's the most evil person in the world. What I do believe, though, is that he is the wisest evil person in the world. That's what I believe. Because we are told that he was more crafty than all the beasts of the field, and we know that beasts of the field was code for people in that species. And so that tells me that he was probably the wisest one out of all the things that God has made. And Ezekiel agrees. It says, you corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. So, yeah. So, having said that, I would probably say XBM, the Titans that are in Tartarus. Hi, Vin. How's the wife? She's actually pretty good. She's on a little mission with Sailor right now. It's coming back. Vin, putting ketchup on a pork chop sandwich, good or bad? I will allow it. I will allow it. A Muslim debate is often shaded. The debate is often them ignoring major critics in order to appeal to another liberal source, and then with the debate, the video often magically disappears. Yeah, man. And, you know, I had Sori there, and she was telling me, like, yo, you need to record it. You need to record it. I'm like, no, we good. We good. And I should have known because the dude, like, it was really, really bad, man. It was probably the worst performance from an opponent I'd ever seen in my life. So I was stupid and naive to believe that they were going to publish that video. You know what I'm saying? Do you think gods hold Satan or humanity as the most evil? You might have just answered that, but I'm in a loud place right now. I can't hear that well. I think John chapter 8 makes it clear that John chapter 8, Matthew 25. You remember when God says to the wicked, you know, you didn't do this for me, you didn't do that for me, whatever. And at the end, he says, depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire created for the devil and his angels. So that'd be one where there are people that are ending up in hell, but Jesus is saying, I didn't even build that for you. So clearly there's a hierarchy of evil and responsibility there. John chapter 8, where Jesus says, you're the children of your father, the devil, because he was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. How would the devil be a murderer in the beginning? You would say that, well, when he deceived them, he essentially killed them, which means that God does not only hold humanity responsible for sin, he also holds Satan responsible for sin. The last one would be Genesis chapter 3. God says, Adam, where are you? Adam says, here I am. God says, where were you? He says, well, I saw that I was naked, so I had to cover myself. I was afraid that you'd see me. God says, well, who told you were naked? Did you eat the fruit that I told you to eat? At which point Adam says, this woman you gave me, she took it and I ate. So God looks at the girl and says, honey, what'd you do? And he says, Dad, it was him. It was a serpent, right? God doesn't ask the serpent any questions. He doesn't say anything. He just says, you're going to crawl on your belly for the rest of your life. You're going to eat dust. And then he looks at the devil and he says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He shall crush your head, you will bruise his heel. And so that's kind of the first time we hear that Jesus was going to come through a woman and overcome the devil on our behalf. So what I would say, Black Queen, is that he's got a sliding scale of accountability, and it probably has to do with knowledge and position. So he holds Satan the most accountable because he had the most knowledge in the higher position. Second to that was Adam, who gets held most accountable, because remember, the scripture says that it was Adam was not deceived. It was Eve that was deceived and became a lawbreaker, which means that when Adam sinned, he did it with malice aforethought. So the sliding scale appears to be Satan, Adam, Eve. The three of them are not blamed equally. Once you get out of the book of Genesis, Eve never gets mentioned as the reason that we're in trouble. It's always Adam after that. Why? Because Adam was the one with the authority, and biblically speaking, the one with authority doesn't get to boss everybody around. Biblically speaking, the one with the authority takes accountability for the sins of other people. Let's keep going. Kamala is an empty vessel that will do whatever the deep state tells her. She has no ideology. I'm going to tell you guys the God's honest truth. I truly, truly believe that Barack Obama has been running the country since Mr. Biden was elected. And I think he orchestrated this entire brouhaha. I said this on Middle America for years, that Kamala was actually the original chosen one. She was supposed to win in 2020. And the way that she got set up, it was perfect. And the only thing that threw a cog into that machine was Tulsi Gabbard. When Tulsi, because prior to that, I was just kind of like, I was ambivalent about Kamala. But when I heard about her record relative to criminal justice, it was over with. So she never recovered from that. What's up, CSE? Is it common among evangelicals to believe in other gods apart from the main one, or is it something just yours, raised a Catholic, house, thought all the other gods were false gods? It is not common. It is not common, but the Bible, I mean, I don't really know what to tell folks, because the Bible speaks about this pretty clearly, and Jesus actually quotes what I'm about to show you in John chapter 10 in the context of him being God. So I don't, you know, I hear what you're saying. I really, really do. But I'm going to show you the passage into why I believe Thor, Odin, Baal, all those people. I believe all of those are real. I also believe that they have done the world to help people. But I do not believe that all of them are good. I believe that some of them fell into the temptation of taking all the adoration and worship to themselves. That's what it looks like to me. Here we go. Psalm 82. Psalm 82. It's a psalm of this guy named Asaph in Israel, and you will see where one of our kids got their name. So check this out, guys. It says, listen, God takes his position in his assembly. He judges in the midst of the gods. Okay? So it says right there that there is a council of gods, and that Yahweh takes his seat, presumably at the head of the divine council. So the idea is that God loves to do everything in community. He is manifested as a Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit from all eternity. He's never been by himself. So anytime he does something, he always wants to do it in communion with other beings. And so the technical term for the divine council in the Old Testament is the B'nai Elohim. In other words, the sons of God. And the idea was you have these powerful beings, powerful divine supernatural beings, who God then disseminates to help all these other nations and to help humanity advance. And so it's really fascinating, because if you look at some of the intertestamental literature, for example, in the book of Enoch, where these beings, B'nai Elohim, watchers, whatever you want to call them, they would come down and they taught us warfare. They taught the women makeup and charms. And they copulated with women and came out with human divine cognates, right? And those beings became giants and all this other, and they brought a bunch of horror to the planet. So that's what's going on, right? And so God goes in there, just crushes everybody, and that's one of the reasons that you had to have a flood. Anyway, the point of the matter is that these were legitimate supernatural beings, and they did that. Now, what's very fascinating when you look at the UFO phenomena, one is these guys are giving us technology. If you listen to, I don't know if you guys have been listening to the congressional stuff and all this, where they're talking about we've got spacecraft that was built off world, but not by human beings, that we're trying to reverse engineer. I mean, this was said on the floor of the U.S. Senate. It's last year. It's unbelievable. I mean, you literally have people in the highest forms of the government, CIA, DIA, all these people saying, yeah, we have off-world vehicles not made by humans. And so what are these people, what are these beings doing? Well, these beings are giving us technology. For what specifically? Why do you think the U.S. government wants to reverse engineer those? You think it's because they want to give us free energy? Sometimes these abductees will talk about, sexual stuff happening with them and these aliens. I think that's very interesting. I think it's really interesting. In the book of Enoch, these beings come down from the sky, and they teach man technology. They give man technology, and there's some genetic hybridization going on. That's in the ancient world. And now in the modern world, we've got space aliens doing the exact same thing. Do that. Yes, I believe the gods are all real. Baal, Zeus, all those dudes. I think they're all real. I think that they have reacted to the prayers of people. Was instead of pointing it back to the sun, they kept the worship for themselves. Addicted. Was Hercules real? I don't know. Why do you still allow yourself to be illusioned with this false sense of actual democracy with our electoral process? How many years have to pass with worse and no change? The only time I would give up is if people in our age bracket actually got serious and were not stupid, and costing us elections. Until that happens and we still lose, I'm not going to give up. You had Joe Rogan, who is literally the voice of every man. He's an everyman type character in America. He gave Bernie Sanders a ringing endorsement. And instead of spiking the football and saying, hell yeah, Joe Rogan, and getting on the show and exploiting that, it was us, our generation of progressives, led by AOC, to stand on business on this and disavow Joe Rogan, which is the stupidest thing on the planet to do. So until we come up with a concerted effort where we're not shooting ourselves in the foot every time, I'm not going to give up on politics. We need the UAPs for the Green New Deal. Yeah. Do you think Trump should have picked Tulsi over Vance for his running mate? Honestly, I would love to see her as Secretary of State. You remember when we had Obama as Prez and then Hillary as Secretary of State? And what did we get? We got the agency project that they were building out for the previous 30 years or whatever with the quote-unquote Arab Spring. And it just so happened that the dice fell that the activator was supposed to be Miss Rodham Clinton. Well, you saw how that turned out. So I would love it if Tulsi Gabbard could be the Secretary of State and get us out of these forever wars. Because everybody knows nobody wants any smoke with the United States. You're not going to come over here and do something to us, man. Especially if you're like a representative of a nation. There's no nation on the planet that wants to go to war with us, bro. But we are the ones with the attitude on the other side. 15 minutes, smoke them if you got them. Joe Rogan doesn't speak for me. Well, again, like when I say every man, I'm talking about he doesn't come across as an elite billionaire trillionaire. He comes across as a dude that you could have a beer with and thinks like you and says things that you would be afraid to say or whatever. Vin, do you think the disciples knew Jesus was God? I think that they had sneaking suspicions, especially toward the end, but their reaction at the crucifixion tells me that they didn't truly believe he was God until the resurrection. And I think that gets encapsulated with the, my Lord and my God stuff from Thomas. Bricktown in this bitch. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. The term God does not mean the sole divine creator of the world. Like the term El or Elohim is not used that way in the Old Testament. Many of our societal ills are because of the democratic process. True. Just read Plato, Polybius, John Adams, etc. All their warnings about too much democracy has come to pass. The overall trend of the last century has been increasing democratization. So why isn't the conclusion here that democracy itself has failed instead of claiming that we live in some oligarchy or whatever? One, because as Americans, we're all propagandized to believe that democracy is the pinnacle of human achievement. Two, American citizens have justified their horrible behavior all over the world by saying we're doing it to spread democracy. So if we disavow democracy and admit that it's a failed experiment, then we killed all those people for no reason. Well, the fact of the matter is we killed all those people for no reason. We really did. No reason to us, right? But reasons to Halliburton, Dick Cheney, may Allah destroy him, etc. By the way, I don't understand how Kamala. I don't know if Kamala has accepted the endorsement from Dick Cheney. But I want to go back to what Angelson is saying, is because that's true. The other reason I think that we're so obsessed with democracy, even though it's clearly failed us, is that people say, well, then what's the alternative? And people are so simplistic today that they really genuinely believe that the only alternative to their understanding of what democracy is fascism. So there's that too, right? I don't believe that capitalism, socialism, communism are the answer, because I think all three of those economic theories deal with fruit problems and not root problems. Human nature is the problem, not the bourgeoisie. Our sinful hearts are the problem, not the elites in America. And sooner we figure out, the better it is for everybody. 9 minutes, guys. 9 minutes, and then we're gonna have the debate between Miss Kamala Harris and Mr. Donald Trump. Art Becles. Could democracy work without capitalism? That's where I'm aiming my ire. Yes, but the problem is the people who hold the most influence and money are going to make it so that that money is always going to be in there. So there's no way. Secondly, how in the world are you going to convince Americans to give up capitalism for the sake of democracy? That would never happen. Americans don't value the concept of democracy that way. In Noah's day, violence filled the earth, and the thoughts of men were only evil continually. Yeah, they were only evil continually after the flood as well, but yeah, I agree with you. You missed my question, bro. I probably did. Let me go and Hunter, repost your question, man. My bad. I'll try to get to it, and I'll try to answer it in 10 minutes. Then let's finally put this shit to rest. Old abandoned house, engulfed in fire. Michael versus Jason. Who lives a lie? Oh, Michael. Michael 10 times out of 10 times. Michael's probably the one that set the house on fire. You talking about like the Archangel Michael? Forget it. It's over with. Should the Biden campaign sue the Kamala campaign for copyright infringement on policy and website? Right. Yeah. Look, the way that they carried on after the debate, I'm sorry. The way that they were all acting like this was something new, I'm like, no. Obama just said it's time. I believe Obama planned this whole thing out. I really, really do. I really do. I really do. Democracy hasn't failed because of the bourgeoisie class, but because the citizens themselves are completely checked out, dislike order, and love licentiousness. I mean, that's just objectively true. There is no economic theory right now that is going to rescue us from human nature. Human nature is the problem. If I look, there are ways to talk about communism that seem very romantic. That does not account for the fact that, okay, once you've eaten the rich, you're still going to have fat cats around, right? That's the entire point of Animal Farm. We're all equal, but some are more equal than others. So if you don't account for original sin, what's up, God is gracious? If you don't account for original sin, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. It's funny to me that we continue to separate the rich from everyone else. It's humanity, right? They're just as much to blame. So then we just hold on tight and wait for the rapture. No, I think that I don't make a distinction between church and state. So for me, the solution is to acknowledge the fact that whatever economic system we create, sinful people are going to find a loophole around it. And if we all put our heads together to try to close those loopholes, I think we'd be in a good place. But that would never get off the ground for obvious reasons. Do you think Trump will hit on Kamala tonight? The odds say yes. I doubt it, because I don't think there's a big contingency in his electorate that is okay with miscegenation. Let me just say it that way. She's very pretty, but the people she's letting in are not, I mean, Kamala versus who? Trump's wife? I forgot Trump's wife's name. My bad, but I think Trump's wife is far and away prettier than Kamala. I mean, Trump's wife ain't no Sori, but she ain't Kamala. Trump Riz is strong as hell, though. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. What's the over/under of Trump not showing at all? I think Trump has way too big of an ego to not show. Melania, my bad. No disrespect to the former first lady, nothing but respect. Sorry, I forgot her name, but I think Melania is I would say is objectively prettier than Kamala, but I'm not a good judge of that for obvious reasons. I don't like her, so you know what I'm saying. Sorry, guys, it's just me. I'm sorry. Let me change this metadata here for the love. For the love. Shorty was supposed to tell me how to do this. How am I doing this? How am I doing this? Will he here, like, regardless, just curious? Yes, I will. Yes, I will do it, whether or not Sori's here. I'm here for you. You bums. Listen, if you are on YouTube, I promise you want to go to Rumble. You want to go to Rumble, I promise. Because that's where we're going right now to cover this debate. And you guys know what's going to happen with the other thing, right? You guys know what's going to happen with the other thing. All right. I'm just trying to change this title here. I think I got it. And I also need to change the, let me see, agreement, embed, download. That's not what I wanted. I don't need that. I need to delete it or change the names. But let me load that up first, though. Let me load this up first. Where is the debate? Come on, there we go. Trump debate. Let me see. What are we on? All right, so it hasn't arrived yet, guys. So I'm on the page. I'm just working on trying to change the name of this thing because it's saying the wrong title. But tell me how you guys are doing, man. You guys feel good about this debate? You know what I'm saying? What y'all think? What y'all think? Who you think's gonna take it? There you go. Recording in progress. Visibility public. Excellent. Now I just need you to tell me how to edit this. Oh, I gotta get this over here. It's killing me right now. It's killing me. Hear me. Presidential debate is coming up, guys. It's coming up. Remember, go to Applejack. Should Biden campaign sue Kamala? I already answered that, bro. Shout out to all my folks on that side, Joe. I'm going to sleep. If you could put it up, you'll get copyright strike immediately. Yes, it'll get copyright struck, but not on Rumble. Rumble is a wonderful free speech environment, so I'm pretty happy. As soon as it happens, all you guys need to go onto the Rumble side, and it's gonna say something about like Scar the Sun and all the rest of it because I don't know how to edit this video. Sori knows how to edit it so that it works, but she's not here right now. So there you go. There you go. Guys, I'm going to be watching the comment section like a hawk, so it's going to be fun. Vin, Rambo versus Arnold from the first Predator. Who kills Rambo? Easy. Easy Rambo. Easily Rambo. All right, let's see. Here we go. Thank you for that. It is up now. YouTubers, you got to go to Rumble. You got to go to Rumble, YouTubers. Rumble.com. Go in there and type in Vin and Sori because it is time. The debate is here, and we got a screen share. Okay, let me just hit this lady up. That sounds weird. Hey, don't son of a screen share. Y'all don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to protect you guys, you know? All right, here we go. First, I need you guys to tell me if you can hear. Okay? So that's the first test we're going to have to do. Why are you on mute? Unmute this site. All right. Can you guys hear that? ABC and around the world tonight? Type 22 if you can hear that. YouTubers, please get off of this channel. You need to go to rumble.com and get it done. Let me know if you guys can hear hear the debate yet. We're gonna try to hear the debate before we see it. Have you heard? I am live on Rumble. Here, guys. Okay, YouTubers, I am putting the link right in the chat. I know you guys can't see it yet because I haven't screen shared. There's the link. Good to see you have fun, Mr. Trump says. All right, guys, here we go. Can you guys see? Mm-hmm. Click the link, guys. Click the link. If you're on YouTube, YouTube's going to get shut down soon. You know that because I'm doing this directly from the page. Go to Rumble. Go to Rumble. I'll put it in the chat again. I'm going to have to kill YouTube soon. Yep, we're live.
You put it on a weight screen?
A $50,000 tax deduction.
Weight screen, babe. Or not weight screen, but like.
Just come in.
Did you just take the camera off?
Hey, I need you to change the.
Thumbnail?
No. Yeah, both of them. Change that.
Okay.
Okay. Trump sounded pretty weak right now. Looks like he lost weight too.
Yeah, he does.
They're gonna get killed here. Yeah. And they're violent. Here we go. Can't hear the debate. They can see the debate, but they can't hear it. They're talking about the economy right now.
Wait, you didn't? Did you start a new stream?
No. Oh, actually, I did actually. You can see it live. Hit skip ad.
Yeah, I know, but so I'm supposed to get the title, get rid of this, but that was the beginning of our stream.
That's what. Change it.
Okay.
Ah, clean up Donald John Smith. Okay. Lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is lying, blah, blah, blah. And she's bringing up Project 2025 right now. Stand by.